we have from First Headquarters. Now, I've got to tell you, our first guests are the most knowledgeable people that I know when it comes to all things First, the most knowledgeable folks in the region. So please take a moment and welcome Susan Lawrence, our Director of Field Operations for the Midwest region, and our first senior mentor for the state of Ohio, Mr. Andy Antes. Andy, Susan, go ahead and take it away.
Will do. First of all, thank you, John Dar, for your efforts on this, and Andy. Introducing John Dar, you'll recognize that lovely, mellow voice from all of our competitions and Einstein at Championship. So Andy and John Dar have been wonderful about organizing this event, and we owe them a lot of thank yous. The other people I want to thank is the teams that are presenting. They, in this strange time, put some things together to share. Some of them were able to compete. Some of them were not, which is sad. I wish that I had more that I could tell you about both the 2020 season and the 21 coming season, and the impact that any of that would have on off-season events. It's not for lack of concern in New Hampshire. You can imagine, if you think about the complexity that you face between your school district, your city, the state, you multiply that times 50, and you add the international aspect of it. And as we all know, COVID-19 is international. And they're working through a lot of alternatives, trying to take that all into account, but we don't have an answer yet. They had hoped at a couple of different points to be able to come forward and say, like on the 29th, with our presentation of those that had not yet competed, and on the 2nd of May for the showcase, but that didn't happen. So hang in there. They're working at it. They're looking at a number of alternatives. And once they tell us something, we'll know what that means for anything we may do in Ohio. This season truly brings more than a robot to the spotlight. And I'm excited to hear about what those of you who were not able to compete, what you learned during the season. I'm anxious to hear about your robots or whatever it is that you elect to tell us about. I'm anxious to hear how you're staying engaged as teams, both you watching this and those of you actually presenting. And then anxious to hear about the community outreach, because there are more than just the 2 teams presenting in Columbus that are active in that. And I'm hoping that we'll maybe hear from, as we hear from Jimmy's team, hear more about what they're doing down in the Cincinnati area. But anyhow, thank you all for joining us. Do know that when we know something, you'll probably know as fast as we know. But take care, enjoy, stay safe.
Andy, is there anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I just, my big thing is I want to thank everybody for joining today. I said we got looking at up over 50 participants so far. That's awesome. I am recording the session, so that way I will find a way to get it out to everybody who didn't get a chance, and also give the teams that do present a way to share what they're sharing, and how this whole format went out, how they can share with their sponsors and their community and say, hey, this is what we have done. So I'm giving you that ability to be able to do that as well. Once I figure it out, I will make sure that you guys have that on top of it. The other thing I'd like you guys to do is make sure you'll see the chat on the right-hand side. Please, if you have any questions or you have anything you want to ask, I am making sure everybody gets muted when you come in, but that does not mean that you have to stay muted. If you want to ask a question when the teams are presenting, we'll give you the ability to ask questions. At the same time, if you want to ask me questions directly or you want to ask questions, please let us know. And I don't want this to be a one-time thing. I want, if teams want to present from around the state, I want you guys to get a hold of me or get a hold of one of us and let us know, and we will continue to do this. My plan is to continue to do this as long as there's interest in people joining and people wanting to present. My big thing about having to set this up was the fact that we are a big community here in the state of Ohio, and I want us to continue to give that sense of community, and that first is what it is, and we continue to reach out to you guys to make sure you guys have an opportunity to let other people know what you guys are doing. I said, I sit up here in beautiful Youngstown, Ohio. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know what's going on in Columbus. I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati. And for sometimes I don't even know what's going on in Girard, and that's 10 minutes away. So, so it's really awesome for us to give you this opportunity, and I'm going to do everything in my power to continue to make this happen. The other thing I'd like to know is if the mentors are interested in doing a mentor-only call, I'd like to set that up as well. So please let me know if there's interest in that. We'll set up a call where we'll have you guys fill out some questions ahead of time, and we'll just run through questions where mentors can answer questions for mentors coming up in the future. All right, and I thank you guys for joining, and let's get the ball rolling. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy, and thank you too, Susan. And don't forget, teams, Andy and Susan are our representatives from this region. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask First Headquarters, you can go ahead and enter those questions into the chat. Susan and Andy will take those on to First Headquarters, and in future meetings, they'll be able to come back and share their answers to your questions. Well, let's see. I think it's just about time to go ahead and have our first trivia. We've got some great prizes for you. In fact, we have $100 worth of e-gift cards to the First Store, so you can get a lot of swag with one of those. But before we start our trivia, it's important to know how to play. So one answer per person. You'll need to enter your answer in the chat, and of course, the first correct answer will win. If you're ready, here's your first question. In what year was the first FRC event held in the state of Ohio? In what year was the first FRC event held in the state of Ohio? For those of you that need a hint, Zone Zeal was the game that season. While you're thinking about that, why don't we take some time and meet our very first showcase team? Now, our first showcase team has been a participant in the FRC since 2003. They were the 2020 Imagery Award winner at this season's Miami Valley Regional and the winner of the Industrial Design Award at the Wisconsin Regional. Jimmy Nichols is here to tell us more about the little team from Liberty Township, Ohio. Please welcome Team 1038, Lakota Robotics.
I actually didn't have anything prepared. I didn't know I was going to be speaking. My kids have a presentation, so I'm going to turn it over to them unless anybody has any questions. So take it away, kids.
Hello.
Who's going to be presenting for you?
We have Emily Lopane, Aaron Ziegler, Courtney Leiden, and Noah Clippinger. I believe Lauren Skelly also. So they put together a little PowerPoint presentation. They got a video, and they're going to be talking about, each one of them is going to be talking about different aspects of our season this past year, our experiences, and how we were prepping for our next event, and then obviously what happened with the cancellation.
Beautiful. Team 1038, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm Noah Clemger. I'm the team captain of 1038. Like you said, we've been around since 2003. Currently, we have 40 active members. We like to subdivide our team into 3 different sections: mechanical, controls, and operations. Mechanical, we divide into CAD and then our 4 separations of parts of our robot. Controls deals with wiring and coding. And then our operations team is integrations, and then our essay writing and chairman. And then this year we competed at MBR week 1. We had 43 days to design and build our robot, Bompas here. And so I'd like to hand it off to our mechanical lead, Emily.
Emily, double check to make sure that you aren't muted. Emily, I think your mic might be muted. The joy of technology. Aaron and Noah, we can't, we don't seem to be able to hear from Emily. Can you fill in for her until she can get her audio taken care of?
Yeah, I can probably talk a little bit. I wasn't actually on mechanical. I was the integrations team lead this year, so I'm not privy to all the specifics, but we'll just go off with what the slide says. So basically, our base this year was an 8-wheel drive that had the low and high gear, and then we had our acquisition, which was over the bumper. So basically, be able to acquire as we basically drove into the balls, and that way it'd be a little bit more secure and stronger when we acquired them. And then from that, the balls would go into our storage system here, which we was belt driven. The belts had Flex Seal on them, make sure they're extra grippy. And then with that, we also ensured that was jam proof. You see the 90-degree turn here, right here in the front, right above the 38 right there. If that ever got jammed, you were able to eject the balls by running the storage in reverse. So that way we wouldn't be able to get jammed or have any friction locking. And then finally, we had our shooter or scoring system here, which was a rotating turret with a variable speed adjuster so that we could shoot the balls into the outer port and hopefully the inner port as well. So then I think the next thing would be our controls system, which is Courtney.
Yeah, like Aaron said, my name is Courtney. I'm the controls team lead. This year for a robot, we wanted to focus a lot on the semi-automation even during the teleop period to take a little bit of pressure off of the driver and operator. So for our storage, we used laser rangefinders to automatically space the power cells that we acquired, and that would help prevent the storage system from jamming. And then for our scoring system, we used a limelight mounted on the rotating turret to focus in on the vision targets on the outside of the outer port. And so that would automatically aim from anywhere on the field. And then during our autonomous, we actually didn't have very much time to work on our auton. So going into the start of our first competition, we didn't actually have any auton at all. But by the end of the competition, we had progressed from no auton to driving off the white line to score those points, and additionally scoring the 3 preloaded power cells. And then Aaron is going to talk a little bit more about some problems we faced before Miami Valley.
Yeah, so like I said, before Miami Valley, we were looking at trying to get an inertia wheel, a molded inertia wheel with that had rubber mold on it, so that way it could be grippy, but also still maintain speed whenever we're shooting balls to be more reliable. Sadly, with that, the mold that we used on it wasn't strong enough to really launch the balls as far as we wanted, and also wasn't very consistent. So with that, we just basically switched back to traction wheels afterwards, and that's what we used during MVR. Then the other aspect that we wanted to try to add would be our end game, but we didn't have end game at MVR, and that was because the one we developed was a bit wasn't very functional, and also was too heavy to go on the robot because it put us over the weight limit. So with that, we kind of had learned that these sort of aspects weren't going to be fully viable a while before our competition. So we realized that without a bag day this year, we could just go back after MVR and develop a new one. So instead, we spent pretty much like the week before MVR really focusing more on our shooting aspects. So that way we weren't necessarily wasting our time trying to develop something or like rush mechanism into development too quickly, like might have been with bag day. So a different dynamic we had to think about this year. So that's why like our end game, I think we'll talk about after MVR, we developed a new one. And if we go to the next slide, we can start talking about competition itself. Yeah, so our competition, so this is more of the scouting and stands aspect of our competition. For scouting, we used the FIRE system, which was developed by 3138. For those of you who don't know, basically it's a bit tablet based, and what it does is it allows you to you can place the marker with a position and then the action the robot's doing at that specific position throughout the entirety of the match. And with that, it then takes that data and uploads it to a database so you can access with your account. So we were using that to figure out match data and stuff. And then we also, use Blue Alliance. And like, I think I also found Viper Scout to be really helpful in terms of determining a robot's skill and a specific attribute. And so with that, just a few things that we only really scouted Friday. And as we'll talk about a performance, really that was all that we needed. And Fires was a really solid system for us, and I think it worked well. And then also for pit scouting, Fires does have a pit scouting system. We didn't use that. We also just use our own system, just going, one by one to every single person and just talking and getting to see everybody's robot, which is really fun. And then stands, which is something that I think is really one of the most fun parts about competition and getting to feel the energy of like the thousands of people around you cheering for the robot, especially like during the finals matches, and the super high energy, and then always all the fun dance parties that we have and everything like that. Really, Stan's energy was really great this year at MVR, and like we always bring as much cheer as we can. I think you can see our light up letters and all our purple and blue colors and sweatshirts and everything. So yeah, it was a really fun experience this year. I think next would be Lauren, our strategy team lead, to talk about our pit and matches.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm, like Aaron said, the strategy lead. One of our students wanted to create a video capturing our experience at our competition this season. Because the season was cut short, he was not able to get all the footage he wanted. But here is a short video of what he was able to capture. As always, the matches were a ton of fun for everyone involved this year. At our competition, we found that a lot of teams did not have very strong shooters. It seemed like part of this was because they struggled to acquire power cells. We ended up being one of the top 10 teams in scoring power cells. This was partly because we had a strong woohoo rate. We call the rate that the power cells make it into the inner ports our woohoo rate. We ended up being second ranked overall in scoring in the inner port. Because of how easy it was to get tech fouls this year, we had thought there wouldn't be a lot of defense. However, because there weren't a lot of strong shooter bots, we found that there was a lot of defense on the robots that could score power cells well. We think the amount of defense might have gone down some later in the season because teams would have had more time to develop their shooter mechanism. Even though we had a very good shooter, we struggled to win matches. This was because we could do nothing in endgame besides park. We hadn't not anticipated that endgame would be so important. Like all you needed to win a match was a functioning climber. We also noticed that the control were completed successfully. Another interesting note about the matches this year is that the field didn't break nearly as much as in past years, which allowed us to stay pretty much on schedule throughout the competition. When talking to the judges, we found that they loved our aesthetics and our storage system. One of my favorite parts about the competition was the atmosphere of gracious professionalism. If a team had a need, they would end up receiving at least 3 times what they needed because everyone was so eager to help out. At MVR, there were several teams that would stop by our pit and ask us if there was anything they could do to help us. This was so inspiring to see and unlike anything I've ever seen in any other sports. Another great part of the pit was networking with other teams. It is so cool to see everyone's designs and ideas. Now, I think Emily will talk more about our new endgame system, if her mic's working.
Welcome back, Emily.
I'm Courtney again. I'm actually going to take over for Emily because I believe it's not working. So after MVR, we were very proud of how we did. We actually had a couple of things we wanted to mention. So as many of you know, our mentor, Jimmy Nichols, won the Woody Flowers Award, and we're very proud of him because he definitely deserved that. So congrats to Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then as a team, we won the imagery award for our aesthetics that were carried throughout our robot, our pit, and everyone in our team and in the stands. So that was fantastic for us because we always like to say that aesthetics is rule number one. And then we did ended up ranked 58th out of 60 teams at the end of the competition, which wasn't as good as we had been hoping for, but we're very proud of how our team did because we did improve every match we played. And like we talked about earlier, we did end up very well ranked in the shooting category, which was in the end what we ended up focusing on during MVR. So we were proud of our performance, even though the numbers didn't look so great for us. And so then keeping that in mind, for preparing for our next regional, which was going to be the Buckeye Regional, we wanted to make the new molded flywheel with treads so that it would have more traction. And that way we could keep the momentum up as it was spinning with that aluminum hub, but it would also have enough traction to actually shoot the balls accurately. We also redesigned Endgame to be more consistent and also lighter because we realized that that was obviously an important part of the competition this year. And then we increased the speed of our storage mechanism because we knew that the slowest part of our cycle time was in actually like shooting and acquiring the balls because our storage did move slower than either our acquisition or our shooting. So we went from shooting about one ball every 2 seconds to shooting all 5 balls in under 2 seconds. So that was a fantastic improvement for us in decreasing our cycle time. And then controls wise, we obviously wanted to improve our Auton because even though we had improved it over the course of MVR, we wanted it to be more consistent and hopefully score even more power cells. So we actually ended up being able to write code for an Auton that would allow us to shoot the 3 balls that we had as preloads and then also go collect 5 more and shoot those as well, which was an impressive improvement. And we wanted to make sure that we would be able to spin that flywheel for a scoring mechanism up to speed as quick as possible because with that 3.5-pound aluminum hub, we wanted to not decrease our cycle times any more than we had to. So we wrote some PID control loops to get that up to speed. And then in doing so, we also integrated that with the Limelight to tell us how far away we were from our target and set the speed set point at different values depending on how far away we were, giving us the ability to shoot from varying ranges. And yeah.
Very, very impressive. And from the chat, I can see that everybody here across the Buckeye State who have tuned in, they are very, very impressed with what you've come up with. I love the video, by the way. That was outstanding. And the strategy that you guys put together. Tell me this, how many of your team members, and maybe this question is for you, Aaron, how many of your team members were actually involved in pit scouting?
I think we had about 5 or 6 involved, just because something like pit scouting's pretty small. For us, it's pretty small scale. And we also, I wanted to have a bit more experience of people in pit scouting so they understood the terminology that was being used. So we actually were a pretty young team this year. I think we had like about 2/3 of our team were rookies this year, which is humongous compared to that. So I wanted to try to have some experience in the pit scouting, just so that I didn't want them to feel sort of thrown off by all the terminology that get thrown around, just to get them more integrated into the team. So it was about operation of 4 or 5.
It looks like you really relied heavily on the Fires app, and I know that was put together by Innovator Robotics. There are quite a few rookies in the state this year. Is this something that you would recommend to them for their scouting purposes?
If they have the manpower, definitely. I think Fires and really having a good stand scouting system like Fires is something super crucial for helping and not only figuring out if you get into the top 8 and are able to do alliance selections and pick alliances, but also how can you change your own strategy going into to each match such that you can get picked by alliance, because a majority of the teams, that's how you get into alliance selection. So if you are a rookie team and you're looking at trying to find a way into like having a lot of success at competition, also engaging more of your people who are in the stands, I think scouting is a really great way to do that.
You guys did an outstanding job. And if I heard you correctly, you have 40 members on your team this year. Lauren and Courtney, based on your experiences this season, is there anything that you would do differently for next season?
Something that I personally would do differently from a controls perspective is push harder to do more of that mechanical brainstorming and CADing and all of that with the team as early as possible, the entire team, including controls and operations, so that everybody is kind of on board and knows exactly what the robot is going to look like, so that when we all break off and do our separate parts to help the robot come to fruition, we all know what the end goal is that we're striving for.
Well, thanks, team. We really, really appreciate your presentation. Very well done and very informative. We're certainly looking forward to seeing you guys again next season. I can't wait to see you guys in action. Again, if there are any questions for them, just jot them down in the chat. We'll make sure that you get answered. Well done and great job to Team 1038 Lakota Robotics. Well, now it's just about time to see if we can answer that trivia question that we started out with. If you will remember, our trivia question was, in what year was the first FRC event held in the state of Ohio? Your answer, 2002. 2002 is the year that the Buckeye Regional was first held in downtown Cleveland. Andy Antes, who was our first trivia prize winner?
Said our first trivia prize winner is Frank Bozak from Team 48.
Ah, a veteran team. Well, congratulations, Frank. You are a winner. And if you weren't a winner, don't worry. Here's another trivia question and your next chance to win. And remember, only one answer per team. All answers must be in the chat, and the first correct answer is the winner. And by the way, Frank, since you just won, please show your gracious professionalism. Give somebody else a chance, would you? Here's your question. How many Ohio-based rookie teams were registered for this season's game, Infinite Recharge? Once again, how many Ohio-based rookie teams were registered for this season's game? While you're thinking about that, let's go ahead and meet our next showcase team. Now, our next team is one of those rookies that we were just talking about. They were hoping to make their exciting first debut at the Buckeye Regional. Of course, due to COVID-19, they weren't able to do that, but they still had a great season. Let's go ahead and meet them. Coach Kronzler is here. Coach, if you could introduce us to the rest of your team.
So I can. Unfortunately, my students weren't able to join the stream. I am streaming it to them so that they're able to see it if they have access. But what I want to do is share a presentation that we put together, information about our team, and really about our journey. So I think I'm sharing.
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Okay, so like I said, my name is Danielle Chronister. I teach 11th grade engineering at MC Squared STEM High School, and I'm the coach of the rookie team, Team 8140 Robomaniacs. I really want to kind of walk you guys through our journey this year. We started in about November to start forming our team, getting an idea of how to do this, because we started with a coach's training session. The biggest thing was I expressed interest in coaching a robotics team for our school, but I had no idea what really was involved in FIRST or FRC. My principal and I were setting up our accounts, applying for every grant we could find, and I had little understanding of where we needed to go next. This coach's training was set up by the Great Lakes Science Center to introduce how the games, teams, and competitions would work. And it was also a chance to get to know our school's needs. That's where we met the other teams coaches. There were 5 teams, rookie teams that were started in Cleveland Metropolitan School District this year. So of those rookie teams, 5 are out of Cleveland. We met John Dar for the first time, Diane and Peter, who are people who work at the state level with FRC and FIRST. While some of the coaches, such as myself, had heard of FIRST before, we didn't know how to build successful teams, and none of us were experts in all areas of robotics that you need to build successful robots. Some of the things that hadn't been accounted for were the challenges unique to our schools, to our district, and our students and families. We're an inner city school district. We are very large. So when it comes to things like money management for team spending, for purchasing materials and tools, that money management couldn't come out of our schools or our district because it would take months to acquire a single order. So we had to determine how to do that. Our student transportation would be an issue because our schools don't individually have buses. We have to pay for the use of a bus every time we need to get one. And it's individual per school. Our students also primarily use public transit to get to and from school. Our family support was going to be another issue because many of our families work multiple jobs, are single parents, take care of kids at home. They don't necessarily have the time or ability to be able to dedicate support to a team. Each school needed to determine practice space and storage space for tools and robots, and each school situation was unique. The access
Coach, did we lose you?
She froze.
It certainly sounds like they had more than their share of challenges. What impressed me so much was they were able to overcome all of those challenges and still be able to move forward. As a group, these 5 individual rookie teams from the greater Cleveland area ended up coming up with a common place where they could build their robots. And they had joint build sessions where they shared not only tools, but they were able to share mentors and expertise. And eventually, the students themselves began teaching the students on the other team how to put together the robots. From a group of rookie teams from an inner city school that didn't even have the tools to start with, they overcame all of that to become, one community team building 5 robots, each one unique and different, and having a lot of fun and learning a lot in the process. Question that we have here looks like it came from 3484 from Mike Armstrong. How did you find a common build space? Once a team shared that challenge with the Great Lakes Science Center, one of the sponsors for our 5 rookie teams, they donated some space inside their building. They donated their maker lab space to all of the teams and set up additional space so that they would have a common build area. They actually used one of the auditoriums in the Science Center on the weekend so teams could come in and do that.
Okay, I think I'm back now.
All right. Woohoo!
All right. Is my presentation still here?
It is.
Or is it?
It is.
Okay. Okay, I apologize. It kicked me from the meeting for some reason. My apologies. John Dark also went into some of the things I was hearing that I'm going to be going into too. So if I'm repeating something, I apologize. So we were kind of talking about some of the challenges for our school district and our teams. Access to internet resources was going to be an issue for us because any district computer has limitations on websites we can go to. So YouTube is a common resource, but we couldn't access it. We had to find other ways around that to be able to get content. We also had computer limitations for working on CAD programming. Anything like that was a limitation that we did not have access to, and we needed to determine how to deal with it. So I was able to walk away from that training excited by this opportunity, having a better understanding, but being slightly overwhelmed by the obstacles beginning to take shape. John Dar, I believe, talked about the Great Lakes Science Robotics Initiative. This is how these 5 teams, including Great Lakes Science Center, got started in the first place with the support of the Science Center, Cleveland Metro School District, YTA, and at Tri-C Cuyahoga Community College, along with Parker Hannafin. These groups came together to help these teams get started, and that was our team as well. And that idea of coming together and building together, as I said, none of us were experts in every area. Each of us had specialties. I wanted to quickly just mention these other 4 teams other than our own. Team 8243 was the Astro Circuits out of John Marshall School of IT. Then out of East Technical High School in Cleveland was Team 8145, the Tech Warriors. And then from Campus International High School was Team 8225, Circuit Blazers, and Davis Aerospace and Maritime High School was Team 8222. So these were the other 4 teams that we worked with throughout the season. Is everyone seeing the presentation or no?
No.
Okay, hold on one second. It might have just stopped.
So, Coach, while you're getting your presentation set up, one of the questions came up was, were there any veteran teams that you were able to rely on?
So we did work some with Team 120 on getting some ideas and things like that. A lot of our times we weren't able to fully collaborate just because our meeting times were different and our locations were different. We also planned on trying to collaborate with them more in the last couple of weeks leading up to the Buckeye. Is it up now?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, my apologies. So I went about, once we had everything set up and I knew what I was doing, recruiting students for our team. I had 2 weeks before we went on winter break, but our school is unique. My school has 3 locations. Our 9th grade is at the Science Center. Our 10th grade site is currently located at GE's Neela Park, and our 11th and 12th grade site is in Cleveland State. So I teach 11th grade, so I'm at CSU. I presented to my 11th grade students it's not just a robot, and showing matches from last season, talking about the roles. I had seniors come to my classroom as well to hear about that. And I took a day off to go to our 9th and 10th grade site to give that presentation to those students who were interested and unfortunately had to take time away from their teachers. We created an application for our students and asked that teachers and principals at each of our sites scan and send those to me so that I could get those. When we went on winter break before the launch event, we had 7 students on the team. So our first event that we attended and practice we went together was the launch event. It was also a time where our team members were meeting each other for the first time. 5 of our 7 students were able to attend. The members of the other Cleveland teams that were all rookies also were in attendance. And after the launch event ended, we had a brainstorming session, all 5 teams together, going through the videos, through the games, and thinking about what we wanted to do. We also looked at each other's ideas and gave each other feedback. My team's first practice was on January 14th because we didn't come back to school until then. We were very lucky to be able to work at the Science Center and work in the Spark space. It gave us an opportunity to store all of our materials and have tools to get started with because we didn't have them. We figured a good starting place was the chassis and the basic electrical system, in large part because it came with our kit. We also worked on communication and determining our sub-teams. We had 4 sub-teams to begin with. Our CAD mechanical was led by Ryan, who's a junior. Our electrical was led by Nate, who's also a junior. Programming team was led by De'Eric, who is a senior. And our research strategy team was led by Ian, who is also a junior. The next step was realizing that I didn't know what I was doing and didn't have enough knowledge to work in CAD or complex electrical systems or the programming we were going to need to do. So I asked John Dar. John Dar was at the majority of our practices, really acting as our first mentor throughout the season. I asked him if he could help. Through his contacts, we were able to work with some fantastic mentors, Chip and Adela Redding, some NASA interns, Nicole, Reed, and Julian, Peter Buka, and RJ Stewart from Parker Hannafin, Chenisara Natswana from NASA, and multiple additional employees from the Science Center who came by to see what we were doing and then asked what they could do to help. We were finally making progress. We got the chassis together for the first time. We improved our electrical system, better understanding how everything was connected. And we started coming up with ideas of how we wanted to accomplish the tasks in the game. Our priorities, we were going for the low scoring port. We did not want to try to tackle a shooter in our rookie year. We wanted to go under the trench. We wanted to be able to get under the control panel. And we also wanted to do the climb. We wanted to get up on the shield generator switch. If we could do the control panel, that would be a bonus, but it wasn't our priority of what we wanted to focus on at the time. As we were at our 9th grade site, which is at the Science Center, word spread quickly among the students, and we had more expressing interest and wanting to join the team. Unfortunately, due to reliable transportation, we lost one of our original team members. They didn't have reliable transportation. But we gained 7 new members. Our team total was 13. We already know of students who want to join next year, but at the time we weren't able to work them in. After those new members joined, those sub-teams really got to work. Our purchased materials, tools, and equipment were coming in during this time, and each sub-team had to bring the new members up to speed, both with what are we doing and what in the world is first. Also teaching them safety protocols and getting them used to working with new people. Different mentors and members of the team were present on different days. So each sub-team lead realized that they needed somebody else, a second person, who knew what the plans were, so that if they weren't able to attend, the next person knew what to do. Our design started coming together. We worked with Chip, Adela, Peter, and Jandar primarily to finalize this design. The biggest challenge, again, was keeping short enough for the trench, but also reaching up for the climb. All of the Cleveland teams really wanted to kind of do this idea, and so we jointly developed what we called the North Coast Stinger. This is a climbing mechanism that is patent pending that I'll talk about in a moment, that we came together and developed to accomplish this task. The majority of our design, though, was based on Team 118's EveryBot design. We happened to see it on Instagram and realized that it accomplished a lot of the things we wanted to do. We kept some of those elements in our final design and changed others to suit our needs. We continued to tweak that design, placement of the different elements to allow us to do what we wanted in the game. So the North Coast Stinger, this is really a cool thing we were able to do. You can see the design at the top is the actual mechanism. This is a lightweight, low profile, can fit inside of the robot design. That is a climber. It primarily works because a chain that goes through it is bendable in one direction, so it can coil up, and then when it extends in the other direction, it's rigid. So when it extends out with the hook attached to it, it can reach all the way up to the bar, grab on, a cable's attached to that, and that's what does the lift. So this mechanism was developed, and we were able to stay under 24 inches of height for our final design. It was really amazing that we were able to accomplish that. And we want to be able to share this with other first teams. So that patent is pending to be able to go through and allow other people to see the design, to get the specs for it, and to be able to use it in the future. As we were then going through prototypes, building, and programming, we worked with our mentors, got our final measurements from the 118 EveryBot to take apart and put together our chassis in the right orientation this time. We figured out the support structures and the space needed for our elements. We were looking at CAD and being able to put those together. We started with a wood model just to think of the concepts of how we wanted to do everything. The new tools that were purchased that we didn't have, thank you, Mr. Buka. These were things that we were finally able to cut metal. We hadn't had that capability before. So the majority of our team members learned to use these new tools, use them safely. We were also breaking up all of our subsystems between our team members, so they were experts. They knew exactly how they operated, how to take them apart and put them back together. Our main struggle at this time, though, was programming. We were able to start just practicing programming language with Vex robotics kits that were loaned to us through the YTA program at Tri-C, and then moved into getting the electrical board from the robot talking to the drive computer. We were able to accomplish that, but we couldn't get code onto the robot to be able to move. And that was our biggest struggle, was trying to figure that out. We tried downloading programs from other teams that were online and putting them on the robot, and nothing was happening. We were very lucky, though, that one of those joint build days was coming up. This was on a Saturday. Great Lakes Science Center offered their big lecture hall on the ground floor to all 5 teams to come in, build, work together. 3 of the teams showed up, 8140 being our team, 8225 and 8243. Since it was our primary practice space, we shared our tools and equipment with the other teams who weren't able to bring all of theirs with them. We helped one team get their belly pan designed and cut. We helped another team, when they realized their chassis was too big, cut it down to size within maybe an hour, because we knew the chassis so well to take it apart, cut it, and put it back together. On team 8243, they were much better at programming. That was one of their specialties. So as our team was struggling with that, they loaned us one of their mentors, Calvin, and he helped us by loading their drive program onto our computers and onto our robot. Because of that, at that practice that day, our robot moved for the first time. This was the bane of our existence for 3 weeks. And just that moment was such a relief to the team. Calvin even came back the following week to our practice to help us continue to build on that coding. So it was amazing to have that opportunity. Then we get into where things unfortunately stopped. We had a plan that we were going to enact over 2 weeks before the Buckeye Regional to help all of the teams finish their robots, get them moving, and fine-tune them. Each team was behind. We didn't have finished robots. We weren't able to test any of our mechanisms because none of them were done. So Great Lakes Science Center was able to allow all 5 teams to come into their makerspace, that Spark space, in those 2 weeks, and come in anywhere between noon to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Our team planned on being there basically every day. The space would be tight, but the opportunity not only to have that time, but to work together. My school is a year-round school. We were on spring break for 3 weeks at this time. So all of our students would have the ability to get there. We were going to finish and build up some game elements, just temporary ones, but with the measurements so that we could practice and fine-tune our robots. Unfortunately, before we were able to enact this, Ohio schools were closed due to COVID, and this is where we left. But thanks to Chip Redding, we did have a CAD model put together for what we were going to finish and accomplish. We used the pickup mechanism from the 118 EveryBot design, though we added a bendable arm to keep it within the outer limits of the robot. And when the game would start, it would push out, lock into place, and actually be able to rotate fully over the 180 degrees either side to be able to pick up power cells. Our stinger mechanism, you can see, is in the center. And that height was, a big element. We stayed on 6 wheels, mainly because we had 6 wheels. So that was a big part of this. I want to show you, though, our member experiences. They weren't able to be here. Some of them were able to share written experiences or video with me. I put it together, and I want to share that with you. Sorry. Oh, dang it.
Coach, we don't have the audio here. Can you tell us who those students are?
Yeah, so their names are at the bottom. I'm sorry that you can't hear it. So this is Ian, who's our strategy and research lead. This is De'Eric. I'm going to be putting this video out on our YouTube channel so that people can get that audio.
Cool. If you'll post a link in our chat, then folks will be able to go there and take a look and see it.
I haven't uploaded it yet, unfortunately, but I will send it to Andy so that maybe we can share it out that way. The last thing, though, I wanted to do was thank our sponsors. Without all of their sponsors coming together and our mentors helping us, our rookie team wouldn't have started this year. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was quite impressive. Very neat to hear about the game strategy that you employed and the fact that as a rookie team, you were able to tap into the resources of First Team 120, and 2172 was also involved in helping those 5 rookie teams to really progress during their first season. So that's really great. I noticed that you did have some seniors. This was their very first year participating, and we understand that those seniors will be coming back next year to help out as mentors for your team with a whole new group of students. And that's
De'Eric, he waited 3.5 years to have a robotics team at their school, at our school. So being able to be a part of it was a huge thing for him. It was something he really enjoyed. He'll be attending the University of Akron, so we'll see whether or not he helps us or another first team. But I'm really excited and proud of what he was able to accomplish just in 1 year and what our team was able to do together.
I, for one, was really, really intrigued by your North Coast Stinger. I know that you base that design off of a tool that was created by the Tsubaki Corporation in Japan. And when they heard about what you had in mind, they offered you guys some plans. You were able to put together what we would refer to as the poor man's version of the Tsubaki tool that you were then in turn able to use as a unique climbing mechanism that had never, ever been seen before. Very, very cool work. You certainly have a lot to be proud of, and we really look forward to seeing you in action next season.
It was amazing because our mentors took an idea that we had and were able to run with it, being able to come up overnight with a basic idea of a prototype of, wait, is this what you wanted it to do? And we ran from there.
There were plenty of questions for you in the chat. It looks like one of your mentors, Pete Buca, was on the chat board as well, fielding some of those questions. So that was great. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Time now for trivia, and our answer for our last trivia question. If you remember, the question was, how many Ohio-based rookie teams were registered for this season's game, Infinite Recharge? How many Ohio-based teams, like the one you just heard from, the Robomaniacs, were registered for this season's game? Your answer, 7. There were 7 rookie teams that were registered from the state of Ohio. Andy, who was our winner for this trivia question?
Said our winner for that question was Michael Armstrong from team 3484.
3484, Mike Armstrong, congratulations. You, sir, have just won yourself a $25 e-gift card to the First Store. Enjoy it. They've got some great items there, from t-shirts to accessories, all the best swag. You can get it there at the First Store. Great job. And if you didn't win, don't hesitate. We've got another great trivia question for you. And here it is. This one is designed to test your knowledge of this season's game. In addition to a match win or tie, what are the other 2 ways that alliances can earn ranking points in this season's game? Good luck. And remember, if you've already been a winner, please show your gracious professionalism. Give somebody else a chance. Now, while you're thinking about that trivia question, it's time now to meet our next showcase team. Now, this next showcase team comes from Champion, Ohio. They are an outstanding team. and a great award-winning team, proudly representing Champion High School and the community of Champion, Ohio. Here are your presenters from Team 2010, the Lightning Bots.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm Sam Young. I'm a mentor for the team. Our team did not get to compete this year. We actually found out like 4 days before we were supposed to leave for Wisconsin that we wouldn't be competing this year because of the COVID situation. But we still are really proud of everyone. All of the accomplishments that we have been able to achieve. So we are going to share a short presentation. One of our seniors, Audrey, and one of our sophomores, Tyler, will be talking a little bit about what we did this season and looking forward to next season. We have 2 videos. The first one doesn't need sound, so it's fine. The second one is our chairman's presentation, which we'll send a YouTube link to shortly. So I'll let Audrey and Tyler take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Audrey. I'm a senior on the team this year. I'm from FRC Team 2010, the Lightning Bots, and we're going to tell you a little bit about our 2019-2020 season. So even though we didn't get to go to any competitions this season, I still feel that we had several accomplishments that are worth noting. We held several different fundraisers. We raised over $30,000 through several different meetings, including fundraiser, grants, and sponsorships. In addition to that, we also held our 5th annual craft show. So I feel like this is pretty unique to our team. So each year, we have approximately 50 or so vendors meet in our gymnasium. There they can sell their different products. Hundreds of members from the community come in. And then we also have a table set up for information about our team and our robot from one of the previous years as well. So that's a pretty great outreach that we have there. And it was our 5th time doing it this year, so pretty successful. This year we also managed to have an outreach to 20 students. 50% of these were new students, so we're very excited to see the continued interest in our team, especially from younger students. And as we previously mentioned, we plan to attend 2 competitions, the Buckeye Regional and the Wisconsin Regional, but unfortunately those were postponed. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler to talk about our robot.
Thanks, Audrey. Like was said, I'm Tyler, and I'm a sophomore on the team. And when we design and build our robot, one of our main focuses is lean manufacturing. When we pinpoint this, we are able to maximize efficiency and minimize waste. So, some about the design of our robot. We have a 4-wheel tank drive with plastic and Omni wheels up front for maneuverability. Our drop-down intake, you can see in the photo, is designed so that we could simply just drive up to the power cells, a few of them at that, and then collect them all without getting jammed. Inside the robot, we have a rotating drum that is capable of holding 5 power cells. This drum is easy to access and store the power cells. We began designing our robot here with versatility in mind. That's why our flywheel turret is able to automatically rotate using our vision tracking, which is that green light you can see. And we have what we like to call a hood that can extend to be able to adjust the angle of our shots. We also have a foldable arm that you can see under that green light that has a color sensor and a wheel on it to be able to manipulate the control panel. And last but not least, we were able to fit all this under 2 feet and 4 inches so that we could travel through the trench. And next we have a video of our robot in action. Here we can see our robot collecting the power cells. Before we fire, you'll see 2 things. You'll see our inner drum rotate allowing all the power cells to be able to go to the turret. And you'll also see the hood on our turret contract to adjust the angle of our shot.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
So in addition to our robot, we also wrote a few awards this year. Our Woody Flowers Award, we chose a mentor, and then we had a new student write that. So it's pretty good that, in my opinion at least, that we get to have a new student get some experience in writing these awards. Additionally, we wrote the Entrepreneurship Award. Last year, we actually won this at St. Louis. So we wanted to fine tune it a little bit more, make it even better. So we did that. And additionally, for the first time in, I believe, 4 years, we wrote the Chairman's Award. We decided to take a pretty new approach to this. So about 2 years ago, we decided as a team that we wanted to have some core values. So we sat down and everybody kind of discussed what they think is the most valuable to FIRST and Team 2010. So we decided on 6 of them, being gracious professionalism, sustainability, networking, resourcefulness, dedication, and cooperation. So in using these for the Chairman's Award, we decided to kind of structure that award around those values. So in order to make it pretty personal, we had each student tell a story relating to the core values. And for our video, that's how we structured it. So we would show that, but it seems like we're having a little bit of an audio issue, so we're just gonna go through that.
If you would like to post the link in the chat where we might be able to go online and take a look at your chairman's video, then we would certainly be amenable to that.
Yeah, I think Sam has it on YouTube, so if she could post that sometime, that would be great.
Very cool.
So as we said, there's a lot of uncertainty looking to the future. So what's next? We're looking to hold a virtual banquet to celebrate our successes this season. We're also hoping to attend the MVRC and a few other off-season events, just given what the situation is. And the theme being FIRST Game Changers.
Looking towards next year, we have a lot in mind for helping other teams, and we have been doing this fundraising guide for 3 years now. The reason this came about is because a few years back, we lost one of our sponsors. They were unable to sponsor us. And we were struggling financially. So what we wanted to do was create this guide of fundraisers, both for ourselves and for other teams. All these fundraisers are great ways to make money, and we actually hand the pamphlet out in the pits during competition. This year, we revamped the guide to make it better suited for new and different teams. During last year's competition in St. Louis, using this guide, we were able to win the Entrepreneurship Award. Back to Audrey for some more financial considerations.
So given the pandemic, there are some financial considerations that teams need to make for next year. Given that many families, they've lost their jobs or a source of income, you might want to consider waiving membership fees to join the team, as many students may not be able to afford this. Kind of similarly, businesses might not have as much discretionary income, so be considering that in the future if you require sponsorships. So start looking for grants and sponsorships now because the money might not be there later. Furthermore, there are other fundraisers out there that don't require an upfront fee. So consider those just so you have enough funds to continue your team. If there are any teams out there that are struggling financially, please feel free to let us know and we can help you guys get on the right track for the future.
Audrey, how can they reach you? There's several questions in the chat. They love the idea of your guide. They'd like to get a hold of it if they can. How can they get a copy of that guide?
Sure. You can send us an email at lbots2010@gmail.com. I'll post that in the chat in a minute, so you guys can have that. Feel free to send us an email, and we'll send that right out to you.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
We would just like to congratulate all of our 2020 seniors, and lastly, a thank you to you guys for letting us present.
It's been our pleasure. Here's a question for you. Fundraising is such an important part of FIRST. What conversations, if any, have you had with your current sponsors, and what will be your approach for fundraising for next season?
So right now we kind of have a pretty significant surplus, especially because we did not get to go to any competitions. So thankfully we're in a decent situation right now, but we're going to be very mindful of the future, especially concerning sponsorship. So we're going to, reach out to as many different companies as we can, have as many fundraisers as we can, and try and keep that cost down to a minimum.
Okay. One last question, at least one last one for me. The season was canceled. We all know that. But what are you doing to stay connected to your team?
Sure. Well, the other day there was, I think it was last week, the live stream where each competition they went through and they had a few different awards that they announced for that. So we all had one big meeting together, and that was pretty fun to just see everybody again. We've been keeping in contact via emails and group chats and things like that, just trying to stay informed. And I think I mentioned earlier that we're also trying to work on a virtual banquet so that students and their families can celebrate the work that we accomplished this season.
Great, very cool. Any additional questions for Team 2010? All right, team, thank you so much for that great presentation. We certainly learned a lot, and I appreciate you taking time to share your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To get the answer to that last trivia question, and if you'll remember, the question was this: in addition to a match win or tie, what are the other two ways that an alliance could earn a ranking point for this season's game, Infinite Recharge? And the answer is an alliance can earn one bonus ranking point by earning at least 65 in-game points to make their shield generator operational, or by achieving stage 3 activation to energize their shield generator. That's worth another bonus ranking point. So in this season's game, a team had the potential of earning up to 4 ranking points, and that was pretty cool. Andy, who was our winner for that last trivia question?
Our winner is Alex Glaubitz. I need Alex to send me a message with their email address and team number because I have not gotten that back yet. But Alex is our winner of that question.
Congratulations, Alex. You're the winner of our third $25 e-gift card to the FIRST store. Please send your email, contact Andy, give him your email so we can make sure that we get you the information you need so you can access that e-card. Congratulations to you. Great job. Now, that means that we have just one more e-gift card available. And surprisingly enough, we have one last trivia question. And here it is. This one for those Ohio teams. Which two award-winning Ohio-based FRC teams are members of the Hall of Fame? While you're thinking about that, it's time to introduce you to a brand new segment that we're introducing on this show. It's a chance for us to shine a spotlight on two veteran teams from Central Ohio who are working together to make a profound impact on their community. Team 1014 is celebrating their 18th FRC season, and they were the Regional Quality Award winner at last season's Buckeye Regional. Their alliance partner in this community outreach effort is Team 3324. 3324 was a regional finalist and a two-time Engineering Inspiration Award recipient at this season's Miami Valley Regional. Here to tell us more about their joint project, please welcome the members of Team 1014, Bad Robots, and Team 3324, Metrobots of Columbus.
Jackie, go ahead and start talking.
Jackie, your mic might be muted. Anyone else from 1014 or 3324 want to step in?
I'll start for this first part. Tyler, if you want to go to the next slide here. This basically started, my sister-in-law's neighbor is a doctor. She reached out to my sister-in-law, asked her if she knew anybody who knew 3D printing. My sister-in-law called me. I talked to Dr. Bruning of 3324. We became part of a larger project where our part has been producing 3D printed masks for primarily for first responders. And the overall group, Ohio State a Hero effort, is producing masks, gowns, face shield, and ear clips. And Dr. Brunig was able to get a Ohio Serve Community Resilience Grant, and I got a Dublin Innovation Grant to get us started. And we have pulled in, if you want to go to the next slide, we've pulled in FRC from all over. Here's that broader effort. We have 128, 1014, 3324, 4145, 4269, and is it 6140? That may be on the next slide. Teachers taking 3D printers home from school. And this whole project sort of spun up out of that thing at the start, and we started collaborating on ideas. The original doctor who brought it in brought us a design from Billings, Montana, and then that design was modified and all, and I'll let Drew talk about that part.
Yeah, so the design did change a lot. So Delaware EMS, members of teams, and Columbus Industries were all involved through many iterations. So the first design that we started with was the Billings model, which is the one all the way on the left in that leftmost picture. And the first design change was making the insert larger, so the airflow through the mask was greater. The second design change was adding weather stripping so that you could make a proper seal against the user's face. And then with that, the nose piece had to be widened to accommodate the weather stripping. In addition to that, thermoforming was used to form the masks against the user's face, just so it'd be even greater of a seal. And other designs were considered, such as the one on the right, which uses a plastic, uses less filament, but a lot more cloth. But ultimately, that was decided against, and we continued with the one that we made many iterations upon. So on the next slide, I wanted to find a way to print the mask and the inserts a lot more efficiently. So in this first video, it's just a time lapse of printing one. And what I designed is a G-code that would push the print off such that you wouldn't have to take the model off each time you wanted to start a new one. So in this other video, the printer is pushing the print off, and after it does that, the build plate is completely clear, so it can just print another. And that process repeats over and over. I was able to get up to 20 printed in a row.
Wow.
And I didn't have to do a thing besides changing filament if it ran out.
Wow.
Wow.
So with that, I wasn't able to get the inserts to be pushed off because my printer wasn't strong enough. So what I had to do is find another way to print the inserts more efficiently. So what I did with that is in this picture on the right, I stacked the models with an air gap between them so that when you print them, you can separate them later with a razor blade. So with this, I was able to print 48 of the inserts in about 24 hours. And again, I didn't have to do anything.
Very impressive.
So this project is actually a collaboration between many Central Ohio teams.
Wow.
14, 33, 24, 41, 45, 42, 69, and 69, 27. I wanted to include people in the community who may have 3D printing capabilities, but may not be affiliated. So we reached out to them through an article published in our local newspaper. So now we have them printing too. To increase involvement, use their connections through work and Slack and Facebook. And today, now we have people printing masks from all over Cleveland, Indian Springs, and Toledo.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so sorry for my mic difficulties, but this is one of the examples of the projects that we've been, like one of the math projects that we've been picking up. It started through Dr. Howard Green. He's from the College of Engineering at OSU, and he had connections with the World Gospel Mission. And we also had some other connections in Honduras, so we decided to, through the World Gospel Mission, we decided to make masks for them. The need was to provide healthcare workers over there in Chulateca, which is a southern city in Honduras, with PPE because they didn't have anything at all. So a couple of multiple different sources, either students, mentors, or just volunteers in general, they all provided their 3D printers to print as many masks as we could in the time period that we were given. And just a couple of those volunteers came in, including Mr. King and Dr. B, came in to assemble all of the masks so they can be packed and shipped off to Honduras. Of course, they were all wearing masks themselves and being practicing social distance at the same time. The masks were packed in with instructions on how to assemble them, how to clean them, and with extra filters as well. And the instructions were printed in Spanish and in English. A total of 189 masks were delivered to Honduras. They were transported to Indiana first so that they could be shipped to Honduras with other medical supplies. But I talked to Dr. Green the other day, and he's hoping that this project can expand to work with a local company that produces ventilators, because that's also another thing that's needed down in Honduras is ventilators for any of the patients. So we're hoping to maybe partner in with that as well.
So the Delaware County EMS, they needed personal protective equipment, and they were worried they wouldn't be able to get it because bigger hospitals were already taking all the equipment. And so they reached out to us, and then they were also really helpful in the initial testing. And so they tested our first iterations of the masks, and they gave us a lot of helpful feedback that led to making the new iterations, and they're with like small changes that Drew mentioned earlier. And they've also helped distribute the masks and other gear to different counties and other EMS groups.
All right, so while the masks for Delaware were being printed, we wanted to plan out the next phase. I came up with the idea of making masks for local teachers who were giving food to families in need and to the Dublin Food Pantry. I asked Mr. King to help figure out if he knew someone, and after a day or so, he gave me the email of Jim Wilson, the operations director at the pantry. I contacted him about the project, and he asked for some samples. So I assembled a mask or two and sent them to him. He really liked the masks and wanted 50 of them for his staff and clients. Once after I got the information, I worked to turn it into an Eagle project as I couldn't work on mine during quarantine. Since these masks aren't going to medical professionals, they won't use the N95 filter. So we had to come up with something to use. After reading articles from Business Insider, HuffPost, and New York Times, I found results from independent testing. These tests showed that cotton ripstop and a Filty brand filter worked the best in terms of efficiency. They had more resistance for breathing, but still within the usable range. We also were contacted by our district hearing impaired specialist for the creation of masks that were clear where the mouth was so that people who relied on looking at people's mouths could still understand. This also lays the foundation for how other projects where we donate to pantries will go. We have talked to Licking County Food Pantry, and we've also heard from groups like the Hearing Impaired Specialist for modified masks or just masks in general. This project also sets up affordable ways to construct reusable face masks for non-medical professionals.
So as a grand total, we've had 1,600 total masks made through all these projects, and we're hoping to continue pushing them out as we get into May. Oh, and we also want to thank Serve Ohio and the Dublin Education Foundation because of the grants that helped start this program. They provide us with the materials that we needed to make the masks. And also thank you to Columbus Industries for their filter material, their technical expertise, and advice for the design process, of course.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you tell us how many students and sponsors were involved in this project?
Right now, there are at least 25 that I've counted involved in the project. Probably more. Those are just the ones that I know been involved in either producing or designing across all the teams in Central Ohio. I mean, Columbus Industries has been a big help. The Dublin Education Foundation, Serve, the Dublin Robotics Boosters, as well as just the support group for a bunch of the individual robotics teams have all been, and Owens Corning, I forgot, Owens Corning Research Center in Granville has been cutting face shields as part of the broader project.
Well, nicely done. So impressive. As somebody who's hearing impaired, I was really excited to see that was something that you took into account, and that makes a huge difference. We are so impressed, and we are so humbled by the work that you're doing. You clearly are showing that first, more than just robots, it's about making a difference in our community, and you guys are certainly doing that. The two of you, plus the additional teams from Central Ohio that are making such a tremendous difference. We're so proud of the work that you're doing and that you continue to do. You make us all look good. Keep up the great work. Folks, we're getting short on time. Let's go ahead and that last trivia question. Again, the question was, which two award-winning Ohio-based FRC teams are members of the first Hall of Fame? Your answer First team 144, The Rock out of the Cincinnati area, and first team 120, Cleveland's team, are past winners of the Championship Cheerman's Award. Team 144, The Rock, won the Championship Cheerman's Award in 1996, and Team 120 won the Championship Cheerman's Award in 1999. Of course, the first team 120, Cleveland's team, was the Swabian Knights back then at that time. Andy, who was our winner for that one?
Winner on that one was Drew Pang from Team 3324.
3324. Congratulations, Purdue. You won our last $25 e-gift card. But don't fret, folks. If you weren't a winner, we'll be back next week, and there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to win great prizes then, too. Now, before we go, we want to remind you that we need your help. If you have an idea for a show or a topic that you want to discuss, or you're a team that's interested in being one of our featured presenters for an upcoming show, please take a moment and contact our good friend, Mr. Andy Yantes. He's your first senior mentor. His contact information is there on your screen. Go ahead and let him know of your interest or of a topic that you'd like to discuss. Just going down through the chat, it looks like many of you are interested in talking about the issues involving fundraising for next season. With the cancellation of this season, many companies and businesses having to furlough employees, it might be hard to find funding for next year. So perhaps that's a topic that we need to discuss. And we'll keep you folks informed. Next week on FRC Virtual Roundup, we hope that you'll join us again. We'll have more updates, great team presentations, more trivia and prizes, and we'll also be recognizing Ohio's 2 regional Woody Flowers and Volunteer of the Year Award winners. That'll be next Saturday, 1 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our guest presenters, Susan Lawrence, Director of Field Operations, Midwest Region, and of course, the incomparable Andy Yantes, first senior mentor for Ohio, and of course, our showcase teams, Team 1038, Lakota Robotics out of Liberty Township, 8140, the Robomaniacs from Cleveland, Ohio, 2010, that's the Lightning Bots out of Champion, Ohio, Team 1014, the Bad Robots from Dublin, and 3324, who are from Columbus, Ohio, the state capital. It was a pleasure to see your presentations. You guys did a tremendous job. FRC Virtual Roundup is presented by Ohio First with assistance from Andrew Yantes, providing that technical support, Jonathan Potter, and for logistical support, and of course, trivia and prizes being made possible through Ohio First and Susan Lawrence. Additional in-kind support being provided by First Field Operations or Midwest Office, the Great Lakes Science Center, and Cisco Systems. My name is Jean Dar. It's been a pleasure to be with you here this Saturday. We look forward to getting together with you next week for more fun on FRC Virtual Roundup. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you then.